Hey guys, and welcome back. I am terribly sorry about the delay that that you're experiencing, but we are so pumped to get these conversations and to get all your questions answered. So this is so exciting, and I am absolutely thrilled to introduce our next guest because there are so many people that reach out to us at the Cool Career and they're like, I have an idea. I want to make something. I want to do this. How do I go about it? Do I go onto Alibaba? What do I need to do? And so it's really important that we sort of take you back and get you some experience and be able to get your questions answered by someone that actually works in the business. So I am terribly excited to introduce Rachelle Austen. So Rachelle is, and I'll give you a little bit of information about her by reading her bio. So since studying industrial design at Monash University, Rachelle has acquired over 16 years of global product development experience by working as an industrial designer and product development manager in the fields of exhibition design, children's toys, and childcare products. Massive, right? Her focus on human-centered design with the goal to improve lives through meaningful yet affordable practical design with relevant innovation has enabled her to launch successful products throughout her career. As a product development manager at Britex Childcare, Rachelle has committed to sharing her unique perspective within the childcare category, ensuring the importance of product and brand authentically by leading a highly collaborative, cross-functional and creative multidisciplinary design team. Whoa, that was a bit of a sentence there. So Rachelle has a Bachelor of Design in Industrial Design as well. So without further ado, let's bring Rachelle to the stage. Welcome to CareerCon.
Hello, Cora. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so exciting. Welcome. I think we're going to get straight into these questions, Rachelle, because there is so much stuff to unpack about your career and also your studying. So can you just sort of take us back to, the decisions that you made when you were in high school and tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what you were like back then and how you kind of got into the career that you are in now?
Wow. Well, this is really interesting because my journey has been, I had no idea. So, and I think that there's a lot of people out there have never had any idea what they wanted to do. I was one of those people that was sort of good at everything, but not exceptional at anything. So I guess that's really challenging because you don't know, okay, well, I'm sort of good at everything. So what do I do? There's no clear path of which direction I should go in. So I found that I loved maths, I loved physics, and I loved art and creative subjects. And my careers counsellor back when I studied at high school actually said to me that there was no career path that required all of those subjects. So they were encouraging me to go down one path, either go down the design and creative path or go down the sciences. And I couldn't decide. And I just was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to disregard what you've just advised me to do. And I did all of them. Which I didn't even know what impact that would have on me or what I was going to do. In fact, I had no idea what I wanted to do, that I ended up doing my work experience at the detective training school. I had no idea. This is something that just fell in my lap and I just did it, which was pretty bizarre. So I guess from there, my dad had always encouraged me because I have a sister who's 4 years older than me. And she was in the creative field and she was up to her second course and third degree, like she was doing a degree. And so he said to me, well, you've got to do something that means that you're not going to be an eternal student like your sister. And I was like, oh, okay, what does that mean? So I had a look around and I looked at graphic design and I thought, oh, that looks sort of good. And then I also looked at advertising at RMIT. So I got into all of them. And then because of my dad's enthusiasm for me to get a job that would, do a course that would get me a job at the end, I chose advertising. And it got to crunch time where I was actually had to attend classes. I freaked out and I pulled out. I was like, I don't think this is me. I'm only doing this because of what my dad had said. So I quickly rang up my second and third preferences, and in the end I was able to go to Western Metropolitan TAFE to do 1 year of design. And I sort of did that, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is more what I want to do, but it didn't seem right either. So I basically did that first year, took a year off, worked full-time, looked and researched all careers where I could, because obviously when I was younger, the internet wasn't so good. And so it was a bit harder than what it is today. It's not like just sitting at your desk and just Googling things. And I ended up finding out about industrial design. I was like, oh, that's perfect, because I guess the thing that I wasn't so committed about for graphic design was that it was all on the computer, or it was all flat, illustration work. And what I was really interested in is, sculptural work, something that's more 3D, something that's more tangible, something that relates to human people, in everyday lives. And so when I read about that course, I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. So what I did was I enrolled in a folio building course, because I had some stuff, but that's sort of stuff that you do at high school and it's not specific to that field. So I did that at RMIT, did a folio building course. Then I taught myself something that's called third angle projection drawing, which is basically where you do a side elevation, front elevation, which is your technical drawings of how you submit to a factory. And then I applied for industrial design and I got in. So what I ended up doing was I got into all of the major universities, so Swinburne, RMIT and Monash. But I chose Monash because they were more focused about I guess the manufacturing side, because I felt more confident on the design side, and I think I really wanted to understand more about the manufacturing, and so that was more of an emphasis at Monash. And basically that's where I am today. I mean, I've followed that career path. It took me a couple of years, but at the end of the day, there is no clear direct path for anyone. I think that what you'll find is that you will start with one direction and you may move off to another. And that's just the natural part of people's lives, is that you move and evolve and things change.
Yeah. Wow. And this is just a bit of a side question, because I actually didn't realize that you had gotten into so many different courses. So can you explain to us as to, I know that you mentioned that Monash University sort of offered that thing that you were sort of wanting. Did you actually apply then meet with each of the universities, or how did you weasel out what it was, to find out what you wanted?
So I went to all the open days because I'd taken that year off. It was much easier for me. And I guess I had the time to go or physically go and talk to some of the lecturers. And I think that was really beneficial from my part, because I started, and I also got to meet some people who were actually doing the courses and understanding what they didn't like. So that was really good. I understood that RMIT was very focused on the design and the aesthetics, but I guess from my perspective, I sort of wanted something that was more overall arching and really would give me that step up. And I think that that's what you really need to always look for, is something that's going to set you apart from other people, that when you go into an interview, you can say, no, manufacturing is one of my strengths. Because manufacturing and affordability and pricing and all of those things is what businesses make their money on. And so from my point of view, and every interview that I've been to, if you can talk about how that product, you can make something look beautiful, but how is that product relevant for now, and how is it going to be manufactured to an affordable price that you can sell larger volumes? So,
Ooh.
I mean, yes.
Yeah,
so
that's exciting.
Really doing heaps of research on what sets you apart from other people is really how you can be successful.
Yeah. So Rachelle, can you take us through a day in your life right now and explain what it is that you actually do? Because, there's product design, there's industrial design, what is it that you currently do in your job?
So mine's a bit different now. So I originally was an industrial designer, which is basically an industrial designer is the same as a product designer. Product design is more focused around everyday objects. But, you know, under industrial design, you've got areas like automotive design, then you've got furniture design, you've also got everyday objects, which is what your product design is. White goods, anything. So think of all the things that you purchase. That's basically what can be covered under industrial design.
Yeah.
So I was an industrial designer, but I guess now my everyday. So the thing is, as you move up your career path, sometimes you can maintain doing the same job that you did for 20 years, and that's something that you can choose to do. But I guess sometimes the natural progression is also to lead people, a group of people or a team of people, to do the job that you used to do. So currently that's what I do. I'm basically the product development manager, and I have to look at strategy, forecasting. So that's once you develop a product, or even before you develop a product, you have to understand what the needs of the market are. So it's all about research, and then you've got to think of a concept that will actually be innovative, something that's going to be successful in the market out there, that's better than something that exists, or something that's new, that's never been designed before. And then basically you've got to sort of work out what the costings are, what the price of that product needs to be competitive in the market and be successful. And then once you've got that target price, then you can start briefing that into your team. And so you can say, we need a particular product that does this. This is what exists in the market with all of the competition. And then you've also got to sort of have an insight into how the consumers are using those things and how things have changed and evolved over the years. So, you know, looking at the past and then thinking about, okay, well, how do I improve that product for the future, and how people are living their lives today, because the way people live their lives today is so different to how they lived them 50 years ago or even 10 years ago. I mean, 10 years ago, we were not so tech savvy, and there wasn't so much on the internet. So now we've got this really, which has empowered consumers, so people who buy products, is that they can search and get feedback or reviews on products that exist out there. And so you have to be really smart and be able to engage with those consumers at their level, and to express to them what your product can do and why it's better than everyone else's products. So, you know, the job that I have to do is oversee all of that from the start of the concept, or, you know, you've got the idea and you've sort of understood that there is a need for that product, right through for concept, prototype or models, all the way through to manufacturing, production, and then launch of that product, which is your marketing campaign. So I would work directly with the marketing team, get your photography done. So I have to brief all of this in, that this is our research, this is what we've found, this is why we've designed it, and this is what makes it so good. Yeah. So it's
awesome.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah. It is intense. And I think too, you know, I would love to know from you, what is something that you've actually created? Like, what's something that you've actually made that we might even know of that you're most proud of? Because if I go back to my industrial design days, because I'm not physically creating things anymore, I worked for a toy company called Moose Toys, which is an Australian and Melbourne-based company. And at the time, I was one of 3 industrial designers there. 2 of them were males and 1 of them was female. That was me. So I was designing girls' toys. And one of the toys that I designed was a creative toy called Beados. And it's a toy that you basically have tiny little beads, put it in a tray, and you can make a design, spray it with water, and it joins together. Right. It was pretty extraordinary. I think it was my second toy that I designed. And then, of course, it was so successful. It was making millions of dollars globally. So it was in most countries across the globe. And that was a pretty amazing feat, to have a product that was so successful.
The thing that I'm most proud of, though, about that product is not that how successful it was, but the learning experience that we had, because we had it was actually a terrible experience where a Chinese factory that was producing it changed the chemical formulation on that product, which meant that the entire product had to have a wide world recall. So that's where it's unsafe. Children were actually eating the beads and going into mild comas. And so what happened was that it had to be taken off all the shelves. I know it's pretty crazy. And then basically we had to work with the China government to work out how we could actually bring this product back and allow it to be brought back in each of the countries that had been removed from. And I guess what I'm most proud of today is that with all the work that we did and all the learnings that we did and all the, I guess, processes and systems that we put in place to ensure that this kind of thing would never happen again, that product is still in the market today. And so, you know, that's something that, you know, you can be really proud about. It's not that, you know, that was your product, but it was our product. There was a team of people that worked on that, illustrators, graphic designers, industrial designers, product managers. And at the end of the day, we were able to bring something back to life that is still in the market. And that shows you that, you know, a product can maintain and have a really long product life cycle. Because these days it's very hard to have a product, and especially a toy, in the market for long periods of time. So that's pretty exciting.
So, you know, because we've got a couple of people in the chat box that have actually said that, you know, they loved Beatos. How exciting. So can you just quickly rattle off, Rachelle, like some of the other toys that you've probably worked on? Because I'm guessing that it's probably quite a relevant age, you know, to the, you know.
Yeah, but I thought about that and I was like, oh, that's probably about the right time. There was also, so I worked on something that was called Mighty Beans, which was early on in Moose's days. There was a product that was called Magic Fabric, which was like sticky fabric that you could put in a machine, put some foam in between it and make a little plush character. What else? Party Animals, which is tiny little teddy bears that have little costumes that you can put them in out of. What else did I do? Magic Sand. Does anyone remember Magic Sand? Because that's a pretty awesome product. And what else was there? There was something called Mixies, which was like the similar Beatos material, but you could create your own doll. I'm just trying to think what else.
I'm going to actually get this. Sorry, what was that?
Egg flips. It was like a little collectible plush that you could turn inside out.
Wow. I'm going to actually get into some of these questions, Rachelle, because you've got some really good ones that have come through, and would love to, you know, have you, you know, answer a lot of these student questions. So the first one comes from Anonymous. Oh, very sneaky. But the subjects are, the question is, what subjects did you study at uni? I'm looking at doing a similar course, but I'm in Queensland.
Okay. So what did I sort of, not that it's a major, but I would say, sort of describe it as a major. I sort of majored in more furniture design. Our course was pretty structured. So it wasn't, when I was at university, it wasn't as open. You couldn't take electives per se. There was only maybe very limited, maybe your direction was either automotive design or furniture or product. Like there was only 3 sort of elective subjects. But I really, when you take your, I guess, your design subject, you can choose anything that you want to design. So when you get to your first year, they sort of set your tasks, but in your second and your third and perhaps fourth year, because sometimes there is a 4-year degree, is that you start to target the field that you want to go in. You choose the things that you want to design to be focused around that direction. So I guess it's less about the subjects, because it's, you know, what they have at that course, like in the course, was electronics, 3D modelling, but that came in later because that was quite new when I was at university. Gosh, I sound so old. electronics drawing, model making, just trying to think business, art history. So as you can see, like what was really good from my perspective was that I was sort of good at a broad cross-section of subjects. And so when you go into industrial design, it is mathematics, it is, you know, the sciences and the arts combined. So, you know, I think that at the end of the day, what I would just say to people is that choose the subjects that you have the most interest in, because if your career path is going to be predominantly most of your working life, you want to enjoy it. And so you choose the path that you most enjoy. Whether that's going to make you the most money, I mean, that's up to you, whether that's your directive. But I mean, ultimately, things just happen. I mean, I had majored in furniture, but I would never have thought that I was going to be a toy designer. And it just so happened that the furniture company I worked for went bankrupt, which was an experience.
Wow.
And then I was looking for a job, and the job that was actually most appealed to me was a toy designer. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds amazing for me. And I looked around my room and I was like, oh, I've got heaps of toys. Okay, perfect. And so, you know, there are just some things that happen by chance as well. It's not maybe something that is a clear outline of something that you're going to, you know, focus your whole career on, but something will just come across and you just say, oh, okay, well, that's sort of cool, and that sort of fits me and what I really enjoy and what my passion is. And so you just go for it.
Yeah.
Don't
well, that leads really
one straight line.
Oh, yes, amen. That is the one key takeaway that would love everyone to take away from this whole, you know, 2-day conference is that you know, that there is no one straight line. And, you know, that leads in perfectly to our next question, Rachelle, which is about still along the sort of same theme of industrial design, but somebody wants to know what kind of things can you do with an industrial design degree?
Oh, whoa. This is the thing.
How long have we got?
Even if you do a degree, once you've done a degree, you can pretty much branch off to anything. So I know people that I went to university with, or people who have done industrial design, have become model makers, have become packaging designers, graphic designers, because you still need to understand all of these basic principles. My best friend who I studied with actually is now an architect. What else can you do? You can be a furniture designer. You could be, I mean, it's anything. If you think of any creative field, because industrial design gives you a really good fundamental understanding of all things. It's actually, I guess, when you think about it, originally before there was a industrial design degree, it was architects that were doing industrial design and graphic design and all of the design things. So now it's sort of like architecture is more about buildings, but still architects can be an industrial designer. And Mark Newson was he was a creative, and he's an industrial designer now. There is no, as long as you, I think that I wouldn't be an advocate that everyone has to study, but I would say that studying does give you the fundamental building block for you to say, yes, I can do this and I have these skill sets. So once you have those skill sets, you can actually go to a business and say, look, I can do this, and you can apply for one job, but I can also do this and this and this. And so sometimes building your career can actually be, okay, I can get a job doing, all right, graphic design, but that business I might be able to feed into other elements later on down the track. So there is no, I don't think that you should ever think that doing one degree means that you can only do this job. I think doing a degree means that you can do maybe 30 different jobs.
Wow. That's so good.
I think it's the mindset that you study something and that's what you're going to do. But most of the time you don't. Like when I was at university, I was the only female in most of my classes. There was 2 girls that were sort of had similar classes, but there was only 2 of us in our class. And most of the guys wanted to be automotive designers, but how many jobs are there in automotive? Well, none anymore in Australia, but there was at the time, there was manufacturing here. And maybe 1, 2 people might have gotten a job, and they might have been on a team of 5 people designing a side mirror. So, you know, this aspiration of what you want to be and may not eventuate, but it gets you to a point of saying, okay, this is what I would dream to do. But then the world sort of opens up and you start saying, okay, well, maybe that isn't what I want, once you start understanding what that means and experiencing it. Because sometimes the experience is like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, so I'm going to try something different.
Yeah. Oh, that
I
was
hope that
just...
answers it.
Oh, that answered it, and so much more. I think there's just so much great advice in everything that you've said, Rachelle. And, you know, I wish we kind of had, you know, we could have a whole day talking about this, because, you know, even as you were rattling off all those things, I'm like, excuse me, like there was even a time, you know, when I was studying at uni that I was like, I had this idea on how to make a sharpener. I really wanted to make this particular sharpener, and I had no idea how to do it, you know. And I was just thinking now that's the kind of thing that you know, the industrial design is everywhere. It's everything. You know, it's you know, making an iPhone, it's everything. So thank you for that. I mean, you know, as I mentioned, we would love to have so much time with you, but I would love to ask you one last question before we go. And that is, you know, cast your mind back to, you know, 17-year-old Rachelle. What's one piece of advice that you would love to have given her when, you know, when she was younger?
So I would say, don't worry. Don't worry so much. Don't worry that you don't know what you want to do. Don't worry about changing your career if you had something in mind and then suddenly realize that maybe that's not suited to you. I think that at the end of the day, the one thing that gets you where you want to be is just hard work and dedication. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. And I think that that's one thing that I've learned. So telling myself that just keep working hard and you can get there. And it's worth it. It is totally worth it, because if you want to relax and not have a stressful job, that's fine too. But I think that if you really want to pursue your career to, I guess, you know, to the most fullest that it can be, it does take hard work. And if that's not what you want to do, then, you know, maybe that works for you too. You just can't ever foresee what that future holds. But that future is anything that you want to make it.
Oh, wow. How's that for an ending? That's just amazing. Thank you, Rachelle. Thank you so much for joining us at CareerCon and explaining, you know, the skills that you need to get into the industry and all those little loops and pieces, and especially telling us about the toy brands that you've worked on. That's just insane. So thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
No worries.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.